Hello, good afternoon, teacher. Today I'm going to talk about the different approaches. The first of all is the total physical response. My opinion about this approach is that total physical response is a useful approach, especially for us when we are going to start the classes with a warm up, because sometimes students feel like bored or they are like sleepy, and this approach help us to motivate them and to wake up them, because this approach involves movements, involves follow the teacher, involves in this case different bodily functions. So it's really useful for teachers to manage a class, especially when the class is starting, because you can get their attention. And well, of course, sometimes all the types of approaches has different advantages and disadvantages. One disadvantage maybe for this approach is that students, they tend to feel like shy when they have to dance or when they have to move or when they have to sing, and obviously using movements while they are performing these activities, so they can feel ashamed and maybe they are not good expressing their emotions through the movements. But in another way is really helpful, because you can start a good class with this type of approach. And well, of course, then comes the silent way approach. At the beginning, I didn't understand very well this approach. However, I was researching about this, and well, I noticed that it's a good way in which the students can participate, because sometimes as teachers we have more teacher talking time, so that means we talk the most part of the class. But with this approach, the main role is gonna be for the student, because they are gonna develop the class obviously with the guide of the teacher. But they can use different resources like the color chart, like the color bars, that are really useful to promote vocabulary. And even let me tell you one experience that I have with a color chart, talking about specific this tool, because around 3 years ago I took an English course in a private institution called Quick Learning. This institution promote the color chart so much, because first they taught to you how to say words, how to pronounce expressions, but without seeing the expressions. They use this color chart. For example, I remember there was a chart with different colors and obviously letters that indicate you what is the sound of that chart. For example, if you want to talk about a car, or to pronounce an animal, pronounce an item, the teacher says, okay, C is pronounced K, K. The phonetic sound K, and then A, and then the letter R. So it's K, K, R. And you started to construct or build, in this case, new words, but without see like the grammatical part or without see the letters. Yeah, so I think it's really special for beginners, because you can foster in them the intention to try to use these tools and to try to little by little construct new words, construct new meanings. And well, I can see in this type of approach an advantage, because teacher doesn't have to talk so much, so you cannot use your voice tool. And that is good, because sometimes as teachers we get bored to start talking and to be sorry talking and talking, and sometimes the students don't pay attention, so you can catch their attention with this approach, and they are going to manage in a way the class, but they are going to be participative. I think that is the most important part of this approach. And then well comes community language learning. I really like this approach. Why? Because this approach is useful when when as well you are knowing a new group, because this approach focus on the humanistic part. And I think that is important, because sometimes as teachers we just come to the classroom, give the classes, and you do this in a mechanical way, but you forgot the most important part, that your students are humans and you have to treat them as what they are, as humans. So humans involves emotions, feelings, likes, dislikes, and this approach is useful because as teacher you can understand the feelings of your students, and you can promote a good environment in your classroom because it's focused more in the person rather than in grammatical aspects. Obviously are involved, but the most part is first create a good environment, a good rapport in the group, and obviously with the pass of the time all the things are gonna be fitting in its place. So this approach is focused more in listening and speaking, and as I said before, this approach would be fine for beginners as well because you can start first listening and then try to repeat what you are listening, or try to say or try to imitate what the teacher is doing. And that's a good part because it's like the method that we learned Spanish, because we did it like a babies. First we heard and then we tried to repeat or imitate. Yes. And well, maybe a disadvantage would be that it's not focusing so much in grammatical aspects, what I obviously is important. But however, well, this is for the beginning just. And then we go with Suggestopedia. This approach talk about the elements that you can in foster that you can apply in your classes. For example, audiovisual, physical, images. You can, in this case, apply, for example, songs. That is a good resource because especially kids, they like songs, they like to imitate, they like to follow the song and do movements and all those kind of things. And I think it's good for the students that are so hyperactive because you can use these tools to control them in a way. But on the other hand, I see this approach a little bit um, struggling with the students that don't like to express so much their emotion. And even, for example, with adults, sometimes adults tend to feel like sorry for the word, like fool or like silly, because they don't like to sing. They think these kind of resources are more for kids, but even it could be useful with adults. But this is depend in your group. If your group is a dynamic group, it's a group that like sing, that like move, that like express, you can foster this type of approach. And well, as well, here says that the most important part of here is no memorization. Yes, because when a student memorize something, they are not learning. They are just storing the information in their mind, but they cannot remember then. So it's better if you use a picture or if you use a song, and through this tool you transmit today, or you convey to them all the information, all the knowledge or the content that you are trying to express to the students. However, yes, it's important to recognize that memorization is not good, but it's part of too. Okay, and then we go with whole language. This approach talk about more. Well, to be honest, I didn't understand the real way in which this approach function, but well, I think it's more focused on grammatical aspects. Yes, it's more focused on the language. So in this case, here says that is more constructivist this approach. What I think is correct, because when you give just one part to the students and they feel interested in the topic, they will research, they will go to a library, to a dictionary, to internet, and they will learn more about this. So I think it's good in a way because you are fostering your students like the proactive part. Yes, that the teacher doesn't have to give all the information and the students has to analyze information, because something that I have noticed in the elementary public schools is that they just do what the teacher do. Yes, they just perform what the teacher asks to them or require to them to perform, but they don't analyze information. They don't tend to say, okay, this is useful for me for that. Yes, obviously because they are kids, but I think this whole language approach is useful when you want to develop in your students a critical thinking and a conscious way to do the things, not just do it by do it. Because you do it because this is gonna be useful, if I want to go to a restaurant and ask about, I don't know, how to say something, or how to farewell a person, or how to express an emotion in specific circumstances. So this approach is good, but obviously with the guide of a teacher, because if you give all the work for them, this is not gonna work. Yes, you have to guide, as teacher have to guide them, but obviously not giving to them all the information. Yes. And well, the next approach is multiple intelligence, is one of my favorites, because I think all the human beings has the capacity and the knowledge to perform a specific goal, yes, to achieve a specific objective. And the multiple intelligence foster this, because not all the students should be really good in math or should be really good in science, because these are not the just fields that exist and that promote a passion. Yes, obviously there are music, there are arts, there are a lot of other intelligences that the kids could develop, and maybe they can realize that is what they want to be, or what they want to do when they adults. And well, I think Howard Gardner delivered to us important content about this, because even nowadays there are teachers, and I'm not talking about specific English teachers, I mean in general, there are teachers that think that the just unique intelligence is mathematical, or is maybe related to the logics. And I'm against this thought, because all the people has different intelligence and different skills that can develop, and that can follow in a goal, in a dream. Yes, so I consider this intelligence is one of the most important, because focuses on the human. Okay, maybe if you are not good at math, maybe you are really good with music. Yes, maybe you are good with letter, with words, or maybe you are good moving yourself, talking about like a dancer, for example. So there are different abilities, and it's good to implement this idea in students, because sometimes there are students that they feel they are not able, or they are not capable to perform a different task, because they don't have that ability. But that is wrong, that is a wrong idea. So as teachers, we need to improve them and encourage them, to give all the tools, all the resources, in order uh, to them overcome, yes, this kind of thinking. And well, then go with neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro-linguistic programming talk about that you think, that you believe is gonna be real. Yes, so if you say, okay, I'm gonna study, and if I study, I'm going to change my behavior, and in that way I'm gonna create a custom. So in the future, I'm not gonna struggle with grammatics, or I'm not gonna struggle when I need to presentate in front of the class. Yes, so neurolinguistic, in this case approach programming, talk about that. If you program yourself, you are gonna program your behavior, and you are gonna succeed, sorry, in what you are focusing. Okay, and well, the next one approach is called the lexical approach. This approach is more focused on grammar and structures, vocabulary, and all those things. And I think it's correct when maybe the students are advanced level, because if they are advanced, they are gonna manage very well this part of the English language, because I think grammar is like the most difficult part of, at least for the most part of the students, yes, that studied this foreign language. And this one focuses in collocations, in slangs, in chunks, in all these structures that are useful to understand the language in a complete way. What I don't like about this approach is that, well, sometimes teachers are really strict, or they forbid the students to fail, or to commit a mistake. What I think it's really important to do, because if we don't commit mistakes, we cannot understand a topic in a whole or complete way. So I think It's good when students commit mistakes, but the teachers in the right moment give feedback, yes, to avoid that mistake in the future. So I think that is the just part that I don't like about this approach. But maybe this is more because teachers, yes, is how the teacher manage the class. And the last one is called competence based language teaching, yes, based language teaching, sorry. And this method, well, talk about in this case the learners are gonna be expected to perform something with the language. What I think it's correct, because at the end, what is what we expect when we teach to them? Yes, what we expect that they are gonna be able to perform in a specific task, or that they are gonna be able to understand, and then that is gonna be applied in the real life. Because taking considering the context, I think that is gonna be an important part, because as teachers sometimes we forgot to contextualize information or make sense for them, because if we don't make sense, this is gonna be really difficult for them. Is, for example, if I am trying to talk about um, modal verb would, that is useful to, for example, ask things when you go to a restaurant, but if I omit that part, they're gonna say, well, what is the meaning to talk about likes and dislikes if I don't use it, right? So we need to base these competencies or this accuracy, yes, in a in something that is gonna be valid for them in the future. It's something that they are gonna use in the future. Yes, because if if we don't feed, or if we don't locate the information in the correct place, they are gonna commit mistakes, and they are not going to develop in a correct way all the knowledges. And well, this is all for me, teacher. I really hope that you understand my explanation. And well, thank you so much. Have a nice day.